What is up, guys and gals? Welcome back to another chess video. This is me, JK Jax, back at it again. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to play against the Caro-Kann. So, in the first part, I've talked about bishop f5. But in the second part, I'm going to talk about c5. c5 is probably the second or the most popular move by black, and it plans to split white pawn, attack the center, and place knight to opens up the c6 square for the knight. My recommendation here is to play knight to f3. In my opinion, this move is the least theoretical among all the other variations you can play against the c5 variation of the Caro-Kann. Here, black will have three moves: knight to c6, bishop to g4, and c takes d4. Let's start with the most natural move, knight to c6. Against knight to c6, we will take the pawn, e6, trying to win back the pawn. You defend the pawn, and your pieces go as follows. This bishop will go to b5, the pawns will go to c3 and b4, the knight will go to d2, the queen will go to e2, and your king will castle. Let's start with the most natural move by black here, knight e7. Now here, you shouldn't go bishop b5. You need to stop knight f5 by black, which is one of the main ideas of the Caro-Kann, where they'll put the knight onto f5, trade away the knight for the bishop, and take back the pawn on c5. What you play here is white, stop knight f5 by playing bishop d3. If they played knight f5 here, you can split black's pawns. So now they have a lot of weaknesses. And one of the main weaknesses is the d pawn, the isolated queen's pawn. And here you can simply just develop, attack the pawn twice. If they reinforce the pawn with the bishop, you play this very sneaky move, knight to e2. Knight to e2 has two different ideas. First, you open up the c3 square for the pawn so that you can play your c3 b4 idea. And secondly, you reroute the knight to d4. Now, this knight can also go to d4 depending on the position of the g pawn. If the pawn is on g7, the e knight should go to d4. Otherwise, if the pawn is advanced forward to g5, then the f knight should go to d4. Because, if you allow if you allow g4 and this knight is on d4, then this knight has to slide back to either g1 or d2, where white will lack space. Caro players hate it when they lack space, so you should try to constrict and take away space from them as much as possible, not give the space back to them. So that's about it for this variation. And if they play knight to g6, you can revert back to the original plan by playing bishop b5, c3, b4, knight d2, castles, queen e2. That's why I say it's not theoretical at all, because most of the variations overlap with one another, which is a nice part about this opening. Now, let's move on to another variation, knight h6. Against knight h6, take the knight. So now you've created one set of double pawns. You're going to create a second set of double pawns later. Bishop b5. Okay, so you go for your plan. Let's say if black recaptures back the pawn, you have a very nice move, pawn to c4. If black takes, black is cooked. Let's say black takes, you take the knight. Don't take the pawn, take the knight. And that's because if black takes back, look at this. Yes, white is down the pawn, but you're going to win back one of these pawns, or maybe even both pawns. So you sacrifice a pawn to win back two pawns. I feel like that's a good investment. You can see black's position is quite bad, and you can already start attacking at black's weaknesses by playing queen a4, double attacking c6 and c4. They play something like castles, then you can just play knight to c3, your rook goes to d1, you castle. Amazing position for white. And if they don't take, and let's say they just castle or queen b6 or whatever, then you can simply just castle, you induce them for them to take. Now, if they take here, you don't even need to take back the pawn, you just develop the knight. And your idea is super simple. Eventually at some point you're going to take back the c4 pawn. Last variation is bishop d7, c4 against bishop d7. If they take, black's position is more stuck than a stepsister in a washing machine. You're going to be playing knight c3, queen d3, rook d1, doubling up on the d file. Your knight will go to d6, and your knight is just going to be a monster of a piece, an amazing outpost for the knight. And if they take your knight away, you're going to replace it with a monstrous pawn in the process. So everything is bad here for black. And one more variation, instead of e6, they can play bishop g4. but you just go over the same game plan. C3, this time C3, followed by, after E6, bishop E3, and once again B4, bishop B5, queen E2, knight D2. Maybe this time instead of queen E2, you can consider queen A4, and putting pressure against the knight on c6, and then you castle, stuff like that. Put pressure against the c6 knight, and then you're going to further increase pressure with moves like knight f to d4 after the queen is out of the pin. So yeah, it's pretty nice for white to play here. So that'll be it against knight to c6. What if they play bishop g4 right away? Again, takes, and if knight c6, you revert back to the variation that I talked about like a few seconds ago, c3. However, if they play e6, now you have to play this key move, bishop b5. So bishop b5, you throw in this knight's check, you force black to make one of these knight moves. Let's say if the knight goes to d7, you have this nice move on the b4, and your game plan is simple. It's quite similar to the previous variation. C3, knight d2, queen a4 castles, something like this. Very good position for white to play here, and overall just super good. Then after that, you're going to put your knight on d4. This knight will go to f3. The bishop may choose to go to g5 in the future, or f4. Everything is good here for white. However, if they play knight c6, you play b4. A lot of players will play knight e7, trying to go knight f5. You castle here. Don't be afraid, just castle. And if they autopilot, let's say by going knight to f5, you have a simple move, knight to d2, and that move wins for white on the spot. You can also play c3, stopping knight d4, but this is even more deadly. It has venom inside, so that's why this is the best move. Now, of course, any sane player would play knight h4, right? Knight h4, um, attacking a pinned piece, right? Because if you take, you lose the queen. But you have a simple move, pawn to c3. You don't even have to react. Your knight is defended sufficiently, so you don't have to do anything at all. Queen c7, and now you just play h3, kicking back the bishop. Now you play g4, knight takes f3 here. After bishop g6, the knight is cooked. You're going to add extreme pressure on the knight after queen a4. You're going to win 2 pawns or a whole piece at this point, because this is way too much pressure for black. You can't defend all this. And let's say if black just takes the knight, white is completely fine here. White has a better position simply because white has a lot of space. And now you're just going to play moves like rook d1, c4, or this rook goes to d1, and then or you can even play a4 here. There's so many ideas. You can play along the center. You can play along the queen side. Anything is good here. Just don't blunder your pieces. Good enough. What if black tries to be smart, tries to be sneaky, and plays knight d4? Again, you don't have to react here. You can slide back the bishop. However, there is a crazy, amazing move. Knight takes d4. Sacrificing the queen. Are you crazy? No, we are not. Bishop takes d1. Now you play knight takes c6. B takes c6. Bishop takes c6. And the best part, you don't take the rook. You take the bishop. Yes, white is down a full queen, but white is +3 simply because white has more activity. That's insane. So let's say black tries to attack the bishop with rook c8. You slide back the bishop. Right? They try to attack your weak pawn. You defend. And your idea is very simple. You want to play c4. And your idea is you just want to get your rook to c7 and checkmate his king. Yeah, you're going for the king's throat. Yes. Like let's say the only way like they probably save themselves is queen c8, stepping away from the deadly bishop g5 skewer. And what you can play here is simply play knight b3. And the idea is very simple. Knight e5 and c4. That's it. Black is cooked. Beyond cooked here. So the only way they save themselves is f5, which you can play c4. And if they take, then you have a deadly move, knight a5. And now your idea is to play knight c6. The last variation I want to talk about is c takes d4, which is the best move by black. Here, take with the knight, Let's say they play e6, you play knight d2, and then your idea is to play knight f3 in the future, make a bunch of knight exchanges, and then put your bishop on d3, castle, play it slow, improve your position slowly, and white is much better here. But if they play a knight c6, you should take, and after that just develop your pieces. Bishop to d3, this knight will go to f3, this bishop will go to g5, the queen will go to e2, castle, and you play for the move c4, and then you put your rook on c1, something like this. And over here, uh, this is the best way for black to equalize, but even so in this position, white is still slightly better here. But if you're better than your opponent, white would win like 70% of the time here. So that will be it for the Caro-Kann C5. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you guys want to see next. Uh, I'll probably make a Vienna part 2, but that'll be it for today's video. Goodbye.